Your fear-based mindset is what's keeping you stuck in life. And I'm not going to beat you with this, but I do want to beat that idea into your head. Let's learn the ways that fear plays out and manifests itself into our lives. And I don't mean the type of fear like dogs chasing you. That's actually my fear. Having to face my own fears in life, I became curious about why fear holds us back, why it keeps us stuck, and why it prevents us from pursuing our goals and dreams. With a lot of digging, I found this book called Do It Scared, $7.99 at HomeSense. The book talks about 7 fear archetypes and that the way fear manifests for me will be different from how it manifests for you and vice versa. One person may fear failure and the other person fears rejection. So because fear plays out differently from everyone, let's listen. Let's listen and identify which ones resonate most for you. Then grab your journal and make note of the action steps you can take to move past that specific type of fear. And it's not procrastinator in the traditional sense of putting things off to the last minute, but more like trying to avoid making mistakes and therefore giving as much time as possible for a task. It may seem like you're really productive because you plan things far in advance and you spend an enormous amount of time planning or getting organized. There's nothing wrong with researching, planning, and organizing, but it's a problem when it prevents you from taking action. It may also look like struggling with the fear of making a mistake, making commitments, or getting started with things outside of your comfort zone. You'll tend to find reasons not to begin or try at all. If this sounds like you, you're ultimately afraid of making a mistake, and it shows up as procrastination, indecision, and perfectionism.
Cool. Cool. What are you doing to these people? You can't do this to them.
Rule followers struggle most with an outsized fear of authority. Often manifests itself as an irrational aversion to breaking the rules or doing anything that might be perceived as not allowed. Do you just love to be proven right, or love when a decision you made turns out to be correct? Maybe you tend to get pretty judgmental towards people who don't follow the rules like you do, get uncomfortable with the idea of thinking outside of the box or forging your own path. Now, there's nothing wrong with following the rules, but it becomes a hindrance to living a life you want when it means you don't try new things or set and achieve big goals. It's also a problem if you find yourself going along with the status quo, even if it doesn't serve you. Or if you let beliefs about gender, race, social status, or your level of education dictate your abilities. The people pleaser is naturally drawn to seek the approval of others and struggles most with the fear of being judged, which also manifests itself as the fear of letting people down and the fear of what other people might say or how they may react. The danger lies with allowing the thoughts, opinions, and needs of others prevent you from pursuing your own dreams, passions, and goals. Or when you struggle with saying no to other people, and so you overcommit yourself and you don't leave time for pursuing your own things.
Explain how you forgot to invite us to your party.
Janice, I cannot stop this car. I have a curfew.
You know I couldn't invite you. I had to pretend to be plastic. Buddy, you're not pretending anymore. You're plastic.
The outcast struggles most with a fear of rejection or a fear of trusting other people, a fear that often manifests itself by rejecting others before they have a chance to be rejected in return. So as an outcast, you may realize that you're being held back from a life you love because you may be extremely sensitive to any perceived rejection, even if you aren't actually being rejected, so you assume the worst. You can sometimes lack empathy or a filter, which may be perceived negatively by others, which only adds to your own feelings of being rejected.
Oh, that's fucked up.
Mary Elizabeth, I really didn't mean anything by it. I'm sorry.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Or you may be so driven to prove yourself sometimes by being an overachiever that your success comes at the expense of other people and relationships. Or you believe that people just can't be trusted, which makes you reluctant to open up or make yourself vulnerable, and this can prevent you from having deep and meaningful relationships, and you may push people away who are actually trying to help you.
You could be brilliant. But you're a coward.
Sorry.
The self-doubter is plagued with deep, sometimes hidden feelings of insecurity. They struggle most with the fear of not being capable, which often manifests itself as the fear of not being good enough, whether good means smart enough, talented enough, educated enough, or any other types of enough you can think of. Being a self-doubter can negatively affect your life when you're so worried about being qualified or capable to the point that you're unable or unwilling to take any action at all. You also may end up sabotaging your relationships because not only don't you give yourself grace, but you don't give others grace either because you project your own feelings of not feeling worthy onto the people around you, making them feel like they can never live up to your expectations.
I found it in the girls' bathroom.
Train pack made out with Coach Carr?
There's only 3 girls in the whole school who aren't in it.
The excuse maker archetype struggles most with the fear of taking responsibility, which can manifest itself as the fear of being held accountable or the fear of being blamed. And because the excuse maker is terrified of having the finger pointed in their direction, they frequently look for an excuse or someone or something to blame for why they can't do something or why their circumstances are what they are. The biggest danger is an unwillingness to take full ownership of your life and of everything that happens to you because you attribute your current struggles or setbacks to things that happened in the past, like having a hard childhood or that thing that happened to you about 10 years ago. Being an excuse maker can even have a negative effect on your relationships because you're constantly shifting blame or responsibility on other people and they end up being frustrated by that.
Yeah, but this girl's like, beautiful. She's smart, she's fun. It's different from most of the girls I've been with.
So call her up, Romeo.
Why? So I can realize she's not that smart, that she's fucking boring? This girl's like fucking perfect right now. I don't want to ruin that.
The pessimist archetype struggles most with the fear of adversity, which often manifests itself as the fear of struggling through hard things or the fear of pain. If you're a pessimist, you've experienced some sort of hardship, tragedy, or adversity in your life, and you have a legitimate reason to feel victimized. Allowing yourself to stay in that victim role is what's keeping you stuck. You're so afraid of hardship, and because you feel like you lack control over your situation, you're easily held back by difficult or challenging circumstances that come your way. You may struggle with forgiving others and giving other people grace when you feel you've been wronged, and so you have a difficult time maintaining positive relationships with people. You may find it difficult having positive relationships with people who you perceive as having it better than you do, so you may end up feeling jealousy towards them. You may also avoid going after big goals and dreams because of your fear of pain and adversity, because you think that the struggle just isn't worth it. So what's that one move you can make to overcome these types of fears? In the book, all the archetypes are given individualized steps to overcome their fear. But the one common thread for all of them is reframing your mind. And reframing your mind simply means identifying and separating unhelpful thoughts from helpful ones and finding different ways to look at situations. So let me go through quickly what this means and how each archetype can do that. If you're the procrastinator, then start looking at life as a series of lessons instead of a bunch of mistakes. That way you'll have more freedom to experiment instead of always striving to achieve perfection. Because without taking action, you'll never be able to accomplish any of those goals and dreams that you have. If you're the rule follower, then reframe your mind by creating your own set of values and principles, the things that you want to follow in your own life, because you'll then be able to alleviate the constant pressure you feel from following everyone else's rules. So for example, an unwritten rule in many companies is work outside of work hours, or you're not working hard enough.
What?
You write the rule to be, I will give my all during work hours, but not during my personal time, and I'll not allow anyone to make me feel guilty about it. I can be a success on my own terms. If you want to break free of the fear that comes with being a people pleaser, start modifying the voice in your head by creating some new affirmations you can repeat daily that change the message that's being played. An example is if you believe that other people may judge you or not like you for saying no, then maybe your new affirmation could be, it's okay to have my own opinion and for other people to disagree. Disagreement doesn't mean they don't like me. And if you fear that people will be disappointed in you, try telling yourself something like, the people who matter are not disappointed when I set boundaries. The outcast can also benefit from using daily affirmations. For example, if you believe that people can't be trusted, start telling yourself things like, just because people have hurt me in the past doesn't mean all people are untrustworthy. There are many people in my life who can be trusted. And if you fear that people reject you or let you down, you can start saying to yourself that just because someone tells me no or disagrees with my idea doesn't mean they're rejecting me as a person. The self-doubter can reframe their mind by remembering that mistakes and failures are just a normal part of life, and that it's our mistakes that teach us all the good stuff we need to know to keep moving forward. And when mistakes are made, because that happens, that's life, don't allow the failure to hold you back from going for new things. Instead, focus only on what you can learn from the experience and give yourself the space to simply try things regardless of what the outcome will be. That way, you won't have all the pressure to get it exactly right the first time. And instead, you get to fully enjoy the journey. As an excuse maker, reframing the way you look at taking ownership and responsibility is ultimately what's going to move you forward in life. If you believe that excuses will prevent you from ever being blamed, try telling yourself no one likes to hear excuses. People are much more likely to respect my work when I take responsibility. And if you're struggling with circumstances outside of your control, tell yourself, I may not have control over everything, but I can take responsibility for the choices I make. As a pessimist, the extreme amount of adversity that you faced has left you terrified of experiencing more, but instead of looking at hardships as stop signs, begin to look at them as stepping stones to where you need to go. Ask yourself, what can I tell myself that will help me start changing the point of view that I've been given a rotten hand in life, or that the world is out to get me? Sometimes using positive affirmations will be enough. It may even require outside help from a therapist or a counselor. And other times it may mean finding more positive messages to listen to, like on my channel. So don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss when I upload more gems like this.